did the our intro to tree controllers and tree views. So tonight we're going to continue on that path. But first thing you need to do is I uploaded to Blackboard a zip file, and you guys will need to download that. I need to download it too.
What we need to download?
It is the very first file, a zip file. It's the very first one you come across. In class, what happened now? I'm not seeing it.
Is it in class resources?
It should say yes, November 1st.
Yeah, you gotta go to learning plans.
All right, thanks. Yep, there it is, November 1st, class resources. The actual name of the file is planets.zip. So I'm going to copy that guy, put it on my desktop.
You know that Pluto's not a planet, right?
Yep, I know that. But
Might want to pause recording. Stop
were you drinking, Adam? All right. Well, anyway, all right. So with that downloaded, we're going to create a new Xcode project. Single view application is fine. This product name, I'll call it Solar System.
Did you say single view?
Yes. All the default settings pretty much. Go next. And put it wherever you guys normally put your projects. Okay.
Not laughing, but I got reasons, and he's like, so what do we call it again? Oh.
All right, if you guys are gonna be telling jokes and stuff, you gotta share them.
It just every time you want to say something, like 10 seconds later, Nick goes, "What did he just say?"
Now I'm calling Nate.
I don't know.
Nate, this is for you.
Like I said, I'm slow.
You go, okay, now we're gonna go out to the Blackboard and download a zip. What are we gonna do?
All right. Well, anyway, once you have so you have the new project.
Single view?
Yep, single view. Yep. Adam, get control. You need to go to your planets.zip folder and decompress it.
She's in.
If you can do an open with or double click on it, usually will do it. And then that creates a planets folder, and then there's a bunch of planets in there. You need to copy those, or just drag them, I should say, drag them into your project.
Oh, I hate this.
What? This is the easy part. Make sure you have copy items if needed checked, and create groups, not create folder references, and finish. And then you have your lovely planets that I so diligently created for you guys, including Pluto, even though, yes, it is not a planet anymore. Courtesy of Neil deGrasse Tyson.
It still is in my book, if that means anything.
Well, thank you,
No,
Glenn.
why did you argue about
Yeah,
that?
exactly.
Why only the first person?
Technically, it's not considered a planet, but they've unclassified it as a planet, then reclassified it, and then unclassified it again.
It's a planet,
So in my book, it's still a planet. And they actually have what are saying there's 2 other ones too.
Sure.
My son came home from school and said,
Oh, really?
2 extra planets.
The ones that are they're out near the edge of the solar system, they're Pluto. Those ones.
Actually, I think one is closer to Jupiter.
I heard that there was another big possible identified another planet that was not orbiting moon or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's.
They're just making stuff up now. They're trying to appease people that are pissed off they took
I
away
mean,
Pluto.
they think they know what a black hole is when you cannot exactly experience it, so.
Sure, you can call these maps.
It's called what?
These max.
Stuff goes into them and nothing comes out.
All right.
We can just try to look composed.
Enough tomfoolery. Gonna knuckle down now. All right, so we have our standard view controller. We're going to tonight. What we're going to do last week, if you recall, we created a table view and we used the built-in UITableViewCells, and we used like a title and a subtitle and added an image and all that stuff. But everything we did was using the UITableViewCell out of the box, the way it comes from Apple. So tonight, what we're going to do is create our own custom table view cells, and then we're going to link to a second screen from those custom table view cells. So first off, let's go to the storyboard. This could take me a while.
Should we start running it now so it's ready to go?
Yeah, probably wouldn't be a bad idea.
God, I didn't get any errors.
Yay, bonus. All right, iPhone 6S is what I'm choosing for my simulator. It's not going to look very exciting, but that's okay. It's good to get that simulator fired up, to Glenn's point. The good news for you, Nate, yes, the good news for you is that this first view controller, we're not going to have any constraints on. It's going to be constraint free.
Oh boy.
Just let it fly with the wind. All right. Wow, that thing is
That's
enormous. Well, while that's doing its thing, all right. What we can do next is we're going to need to get a table view. Drag a table view over onto the view controller, and you can just position it. You can position it using the guides, and then just drag it down. Use the blue guides. We're not going to center it, so we're going to do this constraint free, as I promised, so that we're going to try and eliminate the need to set a bunch of, because I don't want to spend a lot of time just setting constraints and stuff. If we have to, if it doesn't center correctly, then we can come back and do it. But for right now, I'm just going to set it on there and wait for this painfully slow simulator.
That was just a table view?
Yeah, just a table view. Well, anyway, I won't wait for it. Okay, so there's our table view. The next thing we want to do is open up our assistant editor and see if it gives us the right file. Yep, okay. Easy choice, there is only one. And I'm going to close down my property panel on the right. Still loading. And then come over here, do a control drag from the table view into your source file. Create an outlet for this guy. This will just be the easiest thing to do. Let's call it table view and connect it. It's frozen.
I'm just spinning and I didn't even click on anything and I can't pick anything.
She's got the spinning Google.
She's
I
had
didn't
that
even
since
click
the
on
start.
anything.
Welcome to
Mine's been frozen since I launched it.
welcome to the black hole. So,
I launched it and it was like, you can't do this today, sorry.
usually when it happens is I do a force quit. I just go up to the Apple menu and do force quit and close it down and restart it.
I can't even do that.
I can do that.
Did you start the simulator, Kristen, or did it just like
The simulator
Simulator's
was
running, yeah.
running fine.
Okay. When did it decide to go into
Just
net?
randomly, I didn't click on anything.
Yeah.
It was after the simulator was all up. Like the simulator was running.
Hey,
I had mine running this
Nice.
afternoon before I left. When I came back, I had to force quit it to start the new project. So I wonder if they
Single
were
view.
having some issues.
There's always seems to be issues with the Macs. Also can be Xcode. So if depending on which version you have, like the version that just installed on here, 8.1, is like
you can drag and drop.
barely out of beta. Because I downloaded the beta version just a couple of nights ago onto my MacBook. And so the version 8.1 that's out is like really pretty green. And it has issues like the simulators wouldn't install and stuff like that on it.
You just copy that and just drag and drop it.
And it's kind of funny because they came out with iOS 10.1 and then Xcode 8.0 didn't support iOS 10.1. So it's like they came to this revelation that, hey, Xcode doesn't support it, so they quick rushed that in there, created Xcode 8.1 beta, and it worked okay with my phone, which I updated to 10.1, but it had like all kinds of bugs with it, so yay Apple. All right, so did you get yours to restart simulator running or not?
Yeah.
I left it up running.
Yeah, that's fine. Good.
Just quickly drag just three and drag that.
Just anywhere.
Just underneath the frame. You just drop it there. Yeah.
All right. So if you guys are more or less ready to continue on, I'm going to bring the property panel back up. And then select the table view. And then over here in the outlets, if you go to the outlet inspector, you should have your table view and the view controller because we created that outlet for the table view. Next thing we want to do is create the data source connection and delegate connection. So again, to do that, you click on the little button to the right, drag all the way over to your view controller over here in your view controller scene. It should highlight blue and then drag it. And then you get this connection. Same thing with the delegate.
There you go.
So everything wired up correctly should look like that. Data source, delegate, and table view.
Click on that. View controller. There you go. You need to get a table view. So it's not scroll down. Keep going. Should we, what is it, first one? Keep going. Is that a view controller or a table view? Yeah, keep going down.
Yeah, it should be in the. It shouldn't be the one of the yellow ones. That's the controller section.
Keep going.
Looks like rows stacked on.
Yeah, it's a bunch of.
There's-
All right.
So we're going to this one. Just drop in the view controller. And then bring up your inspector. Little big symbols. Yeah.
So for the record, while we're waiting,
Control.
and Adam can confirm this, I did predict accurately the outcome of the Viking game.
And he just called it table view.
I thought I saw something. Did they lose?
Yeah,
2010 to the Bears.
It was pathetic.
Bradford played poorly is what I.
Well, he didn't do well.
Yeah, crushed because your offensive line sucks.
He's getting really gun shy, but he has every right to be because he's just
And then go,
Their line is a
click on
sieve.
table view again.
It's just a sieve.
Well,
Then go up and just Just
Of course, they have no running game, so they're gun the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, no, go to the, click on the
Yeah,
table.
the opposing defenses have the easiest job in the world. They know he's going to pass, and
Inspector.
they know there's no
Little
line,
arrow
so
in the circle.
they just blitz him and kill him.
Yeah.
All right, so
Over, right?
at this point, we have our table view hooked up.
Now take those things and drag them to the control.
We have the outlet, and then we have, I'm going to go close the door.
Drag, yeah, those two top circles, drag that all the way to view control, all the way up, and over to the left, keep them left. The view controller, the second
In the
table.
view, in the tab, the view control tab.
Yeah, right,
A little
I
bit
can't
more
point.
to the left up.
go that way. Go up,
Left up,
up,
yellow
up,
thing.
up,
I just.
there, stop, and drop the other one in the same place too.
Yeah.
I know, she's caught up.
It was.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Ed. All right.
It's like, I don't know all the terms, it's like, it's right there. When he said
You
that, I'm like,
need a laser pointer.
That's what I was thinking, I'm like,
Okay, so now that we're all set, Xcode is running. All right, so at this point we have our, I select my table view. We have our outlets all set up and everything's ready to go. So then the next thing we need to do is in the code, and close the panel down, we need to assign our view controller as a UI table view data source and delegate, doesn't matter the order, comma UI table view, oops, data source. This is UI table view data source and delegate. When you do that, you'll get compile errors because we have to. These guys, all right, so it's derived from UI view controller, a little bit about the Apple schema here and how they do things, the inside the mind of Apple. So it's derived from UI view controller. It implements the UI table view delegate and data source. So these guys are interfaces. So if I go to, if I go to this guy, jump to definition, this could be, I could regret it. Okay, you can see that this guy comes from NS Object Protocol. So this is basically the Apple equivalent of an interface. This is just like a contract. So you have to implement these guys that are marked as, that are not marked as optional, have to be implemented. All right, so going back here. All right, yeah, I see my error. Okay, just go away. So what we need to do is implement these guys. Be nice if it just had a little thing that said fix it, go ahead and implement them, but it doesn't. So what we need is, first of all, number of sections. That one is not a, that one's a delegate method. So that will just be 1. This is going to be a list of planets, by the way. That's what we're, in case you guys didn't know, that's what we're heading towards. All right, so number of sections, and turn 1. Then the other ones we have to implement is going to be number of rows in section. And number of rows in section we haven't determined yet, so we'll just return 0 on that for now, just to make the compiler happy. All right, so number of sections, number of rows in section, and then finally the third one is going to be cell for row at index path, whatever that guy is. Somehow I missed it. There it is. Cell for row at index path. And for right now, we can just return a UI table view cell, just a generic one. Again, just to comply with the compiler. All right. So now we have the basic boilerplate code set up. What we did last week was we created a bunch. We used the standard stock cells, and we just set the title and the subtitle attributes of them, and the image attribute. This week we're going to create our own. So first thing we want to do is we're going to create another variable. This is going to be our list of planets. And of course, we'll go in order. Hopefully I get this right. If I don't, feel free to correct me. Venus, Earth. And I'm doing these lowercase because we're going to reference these for the image names. And the image names, I've made all the files stupidly lowercase. So if you reference a file name, you have to have the same case sensitivity, or else Apple freaks out and you get nothing. All right, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. Is it Uranus, Neptune, or Neptune, Uranus?
I believe it's Neptune. Do you have an order on here?
No, I don't know what the order is. We could look them up, but
I believe it's Mars. Mars is closer.
Mars comes after us, I'm pretty sure. I think these guys are right up through here. I'm not sure about Neptune and Uranus or Uranus, however they want you to say it. I'm not sure about those guys. Let's see.
We can figure that out later.
Isn't Pluto a dog?
He is. So it's Goofy.
Yeah,
Could be
I
Adam.
always thought that was weird.
Oh, we got him on our
Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto.
Got him wrong, sorry.
That's all right. I didn't know it either. No judgment. So we just gotta swap those around. All right. Well, of course, that's coming off the internet, and everyone knows that everything from the internet is correct. But
Quoted by Abraham Lincoln.
cool Cosmos can't possibly be wrong. All right. There's our planets. Okay. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new file. So, in your solar system folder, you can go new file. It will be a Cocoa Touch class. And we'll call this solar. And this is going to be a UI table view cell. So then if you just type solar up there, you get solar table view cell.
You right click.
And also, make sure you check also create zip file.
Can you wait before you hit
Next
go?
is right click.
Before you hit next, make sure you check on also create zip file.
You don't have to right click enable. Go to your mouse. Your systems, go to your mouse. Primary button, you need to switch on the right hand side, switch it from primary to secondary button. Okay,
What
close
do we
that.
call it?
Go
Solar.
back there and right click.
If you just call it solar, and then you go down to the
Cocoa Touch.
derive from or whatever and say UI table view cell, it'll fill in the solar table view cell for you. So I just called it
So in
solar
class, put solar, and then subclass, put UI table.
view cell. Yep,
And it'll fill it in.
It fills in the rest of it for the rest of the name for you.
There you go.
And then make sure you have that clicked.
Make sure you have the zip, create
Oh,
zip.
the zip shit.
If it didn't create the zip file, you can just go ahead and delete the class and redo it, because it's easier to do that than to try and create a zip separately.
Did you just create a zip?
And then just say create afterwards.
Yep.
Oh, so.
So you should have a solar table view cell and a solar .swift file and .zip file. The zip file will just be an empty file like this.
So go, or you just, okay, delete that because we forgot to click on the zip. So click on the far left. Delete that one. and go back and recreate, make a track. Whatever. Right click there, new. Yes. The little stupid button, create the zip, that's what we got left.
Did you get yours recreated?
Oh, well, don't do the call then, call just solar at the top. There you go, hit next. Okay. Oh, that's too deep. All right, it works.
Okay, and you got yours, Adam?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So with the solar table view cell zip file selected, you should have a little designer surface here. This, Nate, is where you get to use constraints.
Yay.
We're going to go constraint crazy. All right, so you can adjust the width and height kind of just by clicking on the corner of it and dragging it. I would make it about like 360 or so wide. It's not critical because it'll fill the available area, but yeah, about 360 wide by about 100 or so, maybe like 120 tall ish. All right. Then what we're going to do is with this guy, we are going to give it a reuse identifier of solar cell over in the properties identifier.
I do not have that.
Make sure you're clicked on the view cell.
Yep, make sure you have the solar table view cell selected, and that should be outlined in blue. And then go to the attributes inspector.
Yep.
All right. The rest of that stuff you can leave alone for now. What we're going to do next is we're going to put controls on here. So first thing we're going to want is an image view. Drag that guy over and drop it on your table view cell zip. And then size it up so that it is approximately 120 by 120 or so. Now this is the one that's going to be, this cell is the one, like I say, giving Nate a hard time, but this is the one that's going to be fun with constraints, because in order to make this appear correctly in your table view, these guys have to be positioned correctly. And since we're drawing this thing from scratch, we have to tell it exactly how to position everything. All right, so we have a UI image view. So first off, we're going to want to create an outlet for this guy before we get too heavily into constraints. So with it selected, I'm going to click on the assistant editor. And hey, it actually got it. So solar table view cell is what you should see when you click on the assistant editor. So what I'm going to do now is control drag over and create an outlet for my zib cell. It's a UI image view, and we'll call it solar image.
Solar image.
Yeah, some weirdness just happened there. It just kind of blew up on me, so hopefully that worked correctly. Yeah, looks like created. Sometimes you get the interface file. It just freaks out and does that, but it usually works where even if you put the outlet in the interface file, it manages to get it into the source file. It's just, I don't know.
If I did put it in the interface file,
Just click on the solar table view cell.swift and make sure it shows up in there. It usually does. If it doesn't show up in there, you usually get the spinning wheel of death for a while.
yes, it did.
It showed up, or you got the spinning wheel of death?
Nope, I got it in there.
Okay. All right, so now that guy is defined. We are going to put a couple more controls on here. We'll put a label in here. Put it kind of next to the image view and near the top. And you can size it up a bit so it's like about 180 wide. We will also need to create an outlet for this, but before we do that, you can do an Alt drag, and then that will create a duplicate. Alright, so then I'm going to do my system editor again. Hey, this time I got the actual source file. Yay. Alright, so now you can control drag from the top label over, create an outlet for that. We'll call this LBL name. This will be the planet name.
How do you get the solar table view without the interface?
If it doesn't come up automatically, what you can do is up here where it's got the ring thing, it says automatic. You
Mine
can
says manual.
if it says manual, either way, you should be able to pick it. So if you
Got
go,
it.
oh, that didn't. All right. Apple, pain. All right. So, all right. So,
We're doing both labels?
yeah, you'll want to create, so the top label, which I didn't create yet, will control drag. I started to, but apparently I didn't finish. All right, I'm going to do a control drag. This- Yeah, it should, yeah, I think it didn't finish. This will be LBL name, capital N, and connect. All right, and then the second label, control drag, we'll call this LBL info. All right. Cool. Now we get to start our fun with the constraints.
I think that's the problem where I put them in and did.
I'll give you guys a minute. Timing it.
That's what the Packers need, was a minute, not 37 seconds.
The Packers at least have hope. I think at this point the Vikings are done. Until they can figure out their line problem, they have to figure out their offensive line problem, or else teams will just eat them alive. Bradford is just going to cringe.
I can only hope.
You can only hope that they eat them alive. I think you're right. I mean, I don't think you have to worry about it. They will. If the Bears can do it, anyone can do it.
That's just, no, Cleveland still can't.
Oh, I wouldn't bet on it.
When the Vikings cave, when the Vikings go on their slide, they really go on their slide. All right, so now we got to do constraints.
I guess it's better that they go on their slide now than in 16, 17.
Well, hopefully they come back out of this. I mean,
Right.
they don't go 6 and
If I'm
10.
gonna do it, I'd rather do it now mid-season for like 3 games, figure it out, and play end the season. You don't want to be hot in the first part. Going 6-0 does nothing.
No, it doesn't.
I'd rather go 3-3 and win your last 5 going strong.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, so these guys now we need to set constraints. So with the UI image you selected, do a control drag up until you get the blue square. Then set the top space to container margin constraint.
Oh, I wouldn't get that.
Gotta go.
Yeah, you have to have the blue highlighted square, or else it doesn't give you the right constraint. I'm going to set that guy to be about 2. It's going to be pretty close to the top of the cell. All right, then
Yeah, how do I do that? How do you do that?
if you
If you go to, shrink it.
click on it and then do a control drag up.
Yeah, but it can't be as big as the container, because then they have to be able to drag it to the white.
Oh,
Yeah, you should be able, when you drag up, like if it goes to white, then it's gone too far. you need to have it so that you get the content view
Top
highlighted.
space to container, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you promised you didn't have enough space to actually do it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's too big, you might have to shrink it a little bit to get it right.
You have top margin, you have to leave that.
Because you can always, we'll set a width and a height constraint on it, so you can shrink it down in here if you need to, so that you have room to work with.
What did you set that to?
I set it to 2.
Enough space to that. And then I'll try out that.
How do you get the margins on the,
There, you're good.
I still have a part up there.
Okay, so right now the only thing we've done is the image view to the container margin on the top.
Well, they don't put it in this one.
You're right.
The next one we're going to do is going to be to the left edge. So I'm going to do another control drag to the left edge and set it to leading space to container margin. And then the easiest way to set these once you've created them is to come over here in your scene and click on the constraint underneath here. So leading margin, right now it's set to 0. I'm going to set that to 2 also. So it's 2 points in both directions. 2 from the top, 2 from the left. All right, then the next one we want to do, so we have our height from the top, we have our distance from the left. We also are going to need to make it actually work, we need to set the width. So if you do a control drag inside the image view and just release it and set the width, and when you do that, that will, oddly enough, the way they do things, the way Apple does things is when you set a width constraint, it's underneath the actual image over in your scene. And right now the width is 120, which is probably fine. And then you also want to set the height. If you don't set the height, it will not look anything like an image. It may not show up at all. All right, so set the height. The height can be 120 also. All right, so that should pretty well center the image. The labels for right now, I'm not going to worry about just yet. All right. So now in our source file for our table view, so that sets up the constraints and the size for our image in our zip file. In the source file, let's come in here. You notice that we have this awake from nib. Now this is the beauty of Apple. They go through there, they completely reconstruct their language, change little tiny things, like they put this stupid little underscore. I'm going on a rampage here. But something like this, they no longer have nib files. They haven't had this, what used to be, what's a zib now, used to be a nib, an NIB, but they haven't had that since Xcode 4. So they've had like 5 iterations to change this guy, and they haven't done it. Whatever. Okay. I'm done.
How do you really feel?
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, they make it so it's such a pain in the ass. Oh, I'm being recorded. It is. To upgrade, and then the thing that they should change, this, they don't. But anyway. So what we want to do now is, okay, so you notice like if you go to the, I'm going to go back here for just a second to the zip file. If you go to the zip file, I'm sorry, we're back in there now, underneath the solar cell. So the solar cell can be kind of, in terms of the way the designer works, it's kind of similar to a UI view controller. It's the outside containing frame. But inside the solar view is a content view. You click on that, that highlights everything. This is all the viewable area, really, of the cell. Is this guy, the content view. So when we're working with a table view cell, when we add controls, we're really adding them to the content view. So if you expand it, there's where all the controls are. They're not directly children of the cell itself. They're actually added to the content view. So now that I've gone through that, let's go back in our Swift file. And in the awake from nib, so what the awake from nib does is When we create this guy in code in our table view, we're going to create each one of these table view cells from a nib file, or it's actually a zip file. But and so when we do that, it's going to call this awake from nib, which basically acts like in Android you have what's called an inflator. In iOS, it's this guy. It basically creates or inflates it from the zip file. All right, so it calls the super. Next thing we want to do is say the self. That's the table view cell dot content view. That thing I just showed you guys. Dot background color equals UI color dot black. I'm gonna make this like spacey. Then we can set the label colors, but right now that's the only other thing I want to do is say self dot accessory type. Remember, that's the type of cell we've got, and you can make it have that arrow, that disclosure arrow. And we're going to say dot disclosure indicator. That creates the little arrow on the right hand side. Right, so right now that should be good. Now we can go back into our view controller, which is our table view controller, basically. And in here, what we're going to want to do is create a string. So we'll call this ID. And I need to make sure that I match this correctly. This is the identifier that we also created here. Not here, sorry, here. Okay, we call it solar cell with a capital S. So that needs to match what we have in the code in here in our view controller. We're going to reference this guy by that. All right, now when you use your own custom defined table view cell that you create from a zip file, you have to register that zip file with iOS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a nib. Again, they did not change this type. This is still a UI nib. And the one we want is, the constructor we want is this UI nib name bundle. The nib name is Solar ID. And the bundle can be nil. Used to be you had to get the bundle from the app, but now you can just set it to nil and it works. Another thing we want to do is set our background color to be black. And the last thing we're going to do in the view did load is we're going to register this nib file, this guy we just created, with our table view. So basically what we're telling the table view is, hey, for your cells, this is what you're going to use. So we call table view dot register. And what we're registering is this nib we just created. And the use identifier, oops, hello, is going to be Solar ID. So that tells it, okay, this is what you're going to use for your table view cells.
getting an error on var nib? I noticed you're not.
It's gotta be because, yes, I think it's because you 8.1, they got rid of that. I don't know.
It's saying replace var with let.
Oh, is it an error or a warning?
Well, it was an error, now it turned to a warning.
Hmm.
So click on the string.
Yeah, you can do that. No reason why you can't have that be a let. Oops. Interestingly, yeah, in 8.1, they no longer give you a warning there. They'll let you do it.
Mine says can use instance member solar ID within property initializer.
Do you have this as defined as a let? And you have it initialized? If not, if it complains about it enough, what you can do is you can just copy the string literal and put it in here instead of solar ID. The best programming practice is to actually use a variable name, but if you have to use a string literal, that's fine for now. Okay, so that will get us to the point where it registers the cell. Next thing we're going to want to do, a couple things. First is number of rows in section is no longer 0. It's going to be the number of planets that we have. Okay, so that's the first thing. Then the next thing we want to do is replace this in cell for row and index path. We need to get rid of our generic UITableViewCell. So now what we're going to do instead is we're going to create a variable. And for this guy, we're going to use that DQ reusable cell method. So we say TableView.DQ reusable cell with identifier. And the identifier is going to be that solar ID that we created. Or string literal if that doesn't work. Then we need to typecast that as a solar table view cell. And probably wants an exclamation point. Yep.
Oh, mine didn't work.
Didn't work? What did it not do?
It says missing return in a function expected return.
Oh, yeah, we haven't returned. You have to return a UI table of yourself, so we haven't got to that point yet. But up to this point, there shouldn't be any like errors on that line.
You know, just went away.
It's part of the fun.
Black hole sucked.
Just absorbed, part of the matter. All right. So next thing we want to do is we have an instance of our solar cell. Hopefully, if it registered correctly and all is well in the world. Next thing we need to do is set the image of it. So we can say solar cell dot, I think it's solar image we called it, dot image equals UI image named And this is where our planets come into play. Planets index path dot row. And for right now, that's the only thing we've defined in our zib. I mean, the labels are there, but they're not positioned or anything. But for right now, I just want to see if we can get the image to show up.
My arrow came back again.
What's that? What happened, Adam? And then the last thing that will make the compiler error go away is to return the solar cell.
It says use of undeclared type solar table view cell.
Is that what you called it?
Solar table.
It's saying replace var with let again.
Yeah, you can go.
I
Really?
just called solar dir.
I would leave it as a var in this case because we're modifying it.
Okay. Here we will be, I think, we didn't call it solar table view cell, we just call it solar. So you gotta go change. Or we get that type in the bottom line there. Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah, this is the name of your class, your table view cell class.
Do you have that? I cannot see that.
I'm just
Well, now you're with or the one. No, I just all of a sudden things turned from green to blue and it went away.
The black hole. All right, so I think we're at a point now where we can go ahead and run it. We shall see.
Return one, that's fine. Return. Table view, that's
The variable solar cell is named
UITable stuff.
Yeah, that's
Table view dot. Register
yep.
name.
Boom.
What does it look like?
I got
true use uncaught exception type NS exception
Can you click on it? So,
LL user.
yes.
Loaded with name solar cell. Reason could not load nib in bundle
What is it?
Sigabrit.
with name solar cell.
Ambiguous members, maybe.
All right. Not a problem. So I believe that's coming from our view controller.
Well,
Yeah, that's the problem. Okay, so my bad. I used the solar ID for the nib name, and the nib name is not solar cell. The nib name is solar table view cell. So where you're doing the UI nib creation, that needs to be solar table view cell.
we just call it solar.
Yeah, whatever you called your nib name, that's what goes in here, because that's the actual name of the file.
I'll see what that is. Maybe
And
that'll
it's
help
gotta
you
be in
work right
quotes
there.
like that.
Yep, that's just a string name.
And then there's this table view dot register dot name. It's for cell reuse identifier. So,
Now the reuse identifier is what you.
you can retype
That's
it.
not the name of the file. That should be.
Whoa, we got planets.
Yep, they're a little bit mucked up right now, but there's some planets. Okay. So a couple things that are obvious are messed up. They don't fit in the cells, and then we have a white bar over here. And then there's a lot of ugliness going on, so we got to fix a lot of that stuff.
Solar. Don't look at mine.
I'll wait for my assistant instructor to.
I'm using one that's smaller, so I know the arrows are
Well, you
not
got-
on my
I see.
screen. Is there a way to get them on
That.
my
Yeah, we'll get them. We'll get them on the screen. I'm gonna let these guys get caught up.
Inside there. So take that.
Are you going to have time today after class to
Enter in. Yeah, plug it inside there.
Probably not.
give give me some leadership.
No, that's just.
Which program?
Return outside.
The NFL.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, the NFL app? Oh,
Nate's good.
cool. Yeah, sure.
Next.
Yep.
Did that work by retyping that thing?
Because I'm having some issues.
All right.
Like it before.
Issues.
Still doesn't.
Yep.
Doesn't like the table view.
All right. Well, we're at the we're at a magic hour point, so I can go ahead and take a break and help people that are having
Just like
problems.
it.
Nate, is yours working?
Yes.
Okay. All right. All right.
I have no-
Yeah, I'm gonna